on a new episode on the Red Pill. So now in modern relationships in 2026, you have a lot of women who are delusional and a lot of men who just don't get what their role is supposed to be. So what I mean is that women nowadays complain about these men who are actually boys who see women struggle and at the same time wonder what happened, what's wrong with men. Yeah, I know what happened. I know what's wrong with men. They got babied by their mothers. Yeah, you want to sit here and say, oh, it's the dad's fault. Yeah, it is the dad's fault as well, because the dad didn't have enough backbone to tell his wife, his girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, the mother of his children, hey, chill. Let me discipline the child. Discipline doesn't mean hit. Doesn't mean have to be something physical. Discipline means guidance. Discipline could also be stern. Discipline could also be, trying to let the child, whether it's the boy or girl, what their role or what direction they're supposed to do, how to control their emotions, how to maneuver around the real world, not through their feelings. So I'll give an example. Men now don't say anything to the women. They let them do whatever they want, and then the women, they think they know how to raise kids. They think they know the direction they're supposed to raise their kids, especially boys. They raise them to, let them express themselves. Oh, let me baby him. Let me, have to think about their feelings. No, that goes for women. Those for girls. When it comes to little girls, we have to baby them. We have to teach them the right way. When they get hurt, when they fall, we have to help them get up and start talking to them, coddle them. Not boys. Boys don't have that. Boys are not supposed to get that same treatment, because when they fall, they have to learn how to get up on their own. Because once we're old, once reality kicks in, the real world, when we turn 18, realistically, we have to deal with real world problems, real world consequences. When we make poor decisions, the real world, the actual world, is gonna tell us where we messed up, and we're gonna have to correct our mistake. Because if we don't, the world is going to tell us where we went wrong. How does that work for men? Well, if you don't do what you're supposed to, if you don't acquire money, if you don't acquire a legacy, if you don't acquire your frame, you don't work out, if you don't get your mind right, if you don't get charisma, if you're not charming, you're not gonna get women. You're not gonna get a good job. You're not gonna secure a future. You're not gonna have offspring. You're not gonna have any of those things. So when men don't do the right thing, the real world reality kicks in and lets you know. How? Because if you stay at home eating Cheetos, getting fat, not handling your business, you're not gonna have women. You're not gonna have money. You're not gonna have a frame. You're not gonna have respect. Nobody's gonna respect you. Men, we get made fun of. We get bullied. Other men are gonna tell us where we messed up. Even women will tell you. They're gonna end up telling you where you messed up. So, how? How do women tell you? Yeah, they put you in a friend zone. If not, they end up using you. They manipulate you. Yeah, that's crazy. But now, what about women? Yeah, women get treated differently in a sense. They're like trust fund babies. Once they turn 18, the real world treats them different than what they treat men. How so? Because a girl, a female, once she turns 18, she's a trust fund baby. How? Because not a lot of men cater to her. All you gotta do is be skinny, be in shape. Again, work out, be pretty, take care of yourself. Watch the women you're around, learn how to cook, learn how to clean, and guys are gonna fall on your feet, and you could get whatever guy you want. You could get a simple guy, you could get a mid guy, or you could get a rich guy. You get a rich guy, what's that gonna come with? That guy, if he has money, then he worked very hard to acquire that money, which means that he has a lot of options. He has a lot of women that are chasing whatever it is that he has. So if this is the kind of guy that you want as a woman, then you know that you're most likely going to have to share him. But then if you want an average guy, who's trying to build himself up, then if you stick around, then there's a good chance that he's going to be loyal to you, because he saw the kind of struggle that he went through, and you were right there with him, believing in him, standing 10 toes down with him. But, that doesn't guarantee that he's not going to cheat on you. That just means that he won't switch you up. He won't change you for anyone. Now, if you want to, then you could get a guy that, that doesn't make a lot of money, but he's faithful. You know, you live day by day, and you help them become something. But that's not the kind of guy you want. You don't want a guy that, you know, you help become, or you help, you know, build him up. You want a guy who's already pre-assembled, already ready to go. That's the kind of guy most women want. You don't want these kind of guys that be baby by their mothers. That's the problem, that a lot of these men right now that you guys complain about, it's the same men that you help build. These little Build-A-Bear babies, yeah, you build those. The women right now, feminism, are the ones that build these kids. These men, these boys, yeah, you build them that way. But then the problem is that you turn around and want to blame men for it. Nah, it's not the men's fault. It's your fault. And then you say, oh, the father's not in my child's life. No, he doesn't want to be a part of the child's life. No, he wants to be a part of the child's life. He just doesn't want to be a part of your life. He doesn't want to be a part of whatever you got going on. Because a lot of you women, a lot of you single mothers bring a lot of problems. You nag too much, you complain, and then you feel like you're entitled. No, if we're there because we want to be there for the child. But since you women, a lot of you guys, a lot of you feminists, because you have a lot of feminist mentality, you're unbearable. You complain too much, so we don't want to deal with you. So you know what? You put obstacles in front of us just to deal with the children. I'll give you an example. What you ladies start saying? Oh, you got to start fighting. You got to fight for your kid. No man has to fight for his kid. For what? You should just be able to say, hey, you know what? You want to take your son? You want to take your daughter? Come pick him up whenever you're available. The doors will always be open for you to come and pick up your child. But you and I, we have nothing to do with each other. You know, we'll be cordial, and that's about it. I guarantee you, most fathers aren't going to have a problem with that. The problem is that there's a lot of guys that you pick. There's men that were babied by these mothers, these single mothers who are feminists, who think that, oh, they know everything. You raise these punk ass boys, and then you decide to have kids with them, and then you expect them to be faithful to you, to just be men. That's not how it works. Like, you help build these bum men, these birds. You help build them, and then you complain about how your food gets served. This is what you did. You prepared this meal, and then you turn around and want to complain about it. Nah, you can't complain about something that you decided to do on your own because you thought you knew what you was doing, but you don't. If you couldn't pick the right man, you're gonna tell you how you're gonna raise your kid. If you don't even know, you didn't even know how to pick the guy, a good guy. You end up picking the guy that's in the corner, hanging out with a bunch of guys, smoking a joint, drinking on Friday, Saturday nights, and then doesn't really have a job, doesn't have a stable job, doesn't even have a father, doesn't have a nuclear family. You know, this is the kind of guy that you choose. But then you turn around and think that you're going to change this kind of guy. You're not, because if he hasn't changed, he's not going to change for you. Yeah, there's a small percentage of men that will change, but 9 times out of 10, he's not going to change, because that's not how it goes. Most guys have to go through a lot of real world experience, real world consequences for them to actually get it and say, you know what, this isn't what I want for myself. But again, the problem is that a lot of women think that they can build boys to be men. You can't, because you don't know the man's struggle. We have to go through certain things. We don't get catered to like women do. This is why a lot of men right now in 2026 say that women are delusional. Because you think that your reality is our reality, and that's not true. Your reality is completely different than our reality. We live the real reality. You girls live a delusional lifestyle. Now all you have to do is look pretty, you know, be in shape, and then social media as well has made y'all think that you're all 10s when you're not. Most of you are average, because pretty women are common, just like average women are common. The only difference is that y'all think because you have 20 guys every morning DMing you and telling you you're a bad chick, that you look bad, that you're fine. I'm pretty sure that makes you delusional and mess up your psyche, and it makes you think. It makes your mind warped into something else that it's absurd. But again, I don't blame you. I blame a lot of these men. These men that were babied by their mothers. And that's the problem. A lot of you women are the problem with how these men are raised. Because you end up babying these men. Well, I'm sorry, you end up babying these boys that you expect to become men. But how you expect them to become men when they don't know how to be men? Because mommy babied them. Oh, no, it's okay, baby. When you fall, I'll pick you up. Don't worry about it. You don't have to struggle. Oh, don't worry about it, baby. Oh, you'll find another girl. You start babying these boys, and then they think it's okay. Then they start catching tantrums. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to control their emotions. They don't know how to do a lot of things. Newsflash. What'd you expect? This is why it's very important for men to be involved and letting their boys know, hey, chill. You have to be very firm with them. This is why you can't listen to women, because majority of women don't know the reality of what men have to go through. Now, yes, granted, there are some mothers, very few, that have to play both roles, and they actually know what they're doing because they have parents who actually guided them and told them, hey, this is what you have to do. You have to go to school, get married, you have kids, take care of your kids, don't abandon your kids, you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to be responsible, you have to be a traditional woman, but at the same time, you want to go to school, you want to get an education, that's fine. Just make sure you have a safety net just in case, your husband/boyfriend decides to want to leave someday. But there's a good chance that they not, if you pick the right guy. But if you pick the low life and somebody who's not worth it, who was babied his whole life, who thinks he just doesn't know how to be a real man, what you're going to expect? What do you expect? This is why it's very important for fathers, real fathers, like men who understand the real world, to be involved in the children's life. That way, so men could keep boys out of prison, and men, which fathers, keep girls off of stripping poles. That's the reality of it. Because if you don't have a firm hand with your daughters as well, because we can talk about girls now, they think doing once you turn 18, you could be independent, do whatever you want. You can run around, be promiscuous. That your past doesn't matter. Absolutely, your past does matter. Your past does matter. Everything you do, a man is going to look at it and say, you had different partners. Yeah, you know what? We don't want to deal with you, because most likely you come with a baggage, you come with trauma, you come with all of these things that we don't really want to deal with. And then you start girls start comparing and contrasting. And it's crazy, in 2026, then you have a lot of young girls, having intercourse or being in relationships at 11 years old and doing things you shouldn't be doing at that age, which is absurd, which feminism has taught girls you could do whatever you want. It's your body, you could think however you want. You don't have to listen to no man. Do whatever you feel. Feelings have nothing to do with logic, and that's the problem right now. The feminism has turned a woman's way of thinking into thinking that it's the way they're supposed to think like a man. You're not supposed to think like a man, because you don't know how the reality of how a man actually lives. So that is bad advice in itself. So this is the problem with feminism. Feminism has, flipped the world upside down. How so as well? We could use the Bible real quick, just for a second. It's supposed to be a pyramid. It's supposed to be God, man, women, then children. That's how it's supposed to go, because Adam walked with God. It gave him the instructions. But now, because feminism has been activated, it came into place, now you have women not realizing that they're actually worshiping the devil. What the devil wants. Because what they're doing is they're worshiping the devil, Satan, then it's women, then below that is children, then below that is the dog, and then below that is men. That's not how that goes. Like, when women say they want a God-fearing man, they want a traditional man, you don't even follow the hierarchies of how it's supposed to be. Yeah, you believe in a God, just not the God that Christianity teaches us. So, a lot of these problems that we have right now is because we've allowed a lot of women to just think how they feel instead of thinking logically. So this is another example why, like I said, not to sound, listen, I'm not misogynistic or anything like that, but you girls got to get back in the kitchen. Because home ec and all of that was a very important thing growing up for ladies, so they could understand the importance of what it is to keep a family together, or what it is to prepare them to become a wife. But now you don't have that. You have a lot of girls thinking that that you need to move out of your house, be independent, get a career, go on vacations, be promiscuous, and then after all of that, try to find a husband at 35. You're old at that age. But again, this goes back to, again, this is the way feminism has taught women how to think. And at the same time, for the past 60 years, it has taught women, hey, you know, men don't know how to raise kids. We know how to raise kids because kids came out of our body, so we know how to raise them. No, you don't. All you have to do is give birth. Then from there, we're there. Men are there to make sure you guys are taken care of. We're able to sustain you, keep you alive, protect you, and at the same time, we help raise these kids to make sure that they're able to survive for the next couple of generations. A boy grows mentally and is prepared to enter the real world by his father's experience. And the father also teaches the daughters to acquire a husband, a good husband, pass her over to a good man. That's how it's supposed to be. But, you know, again, feminism has confused women into thinking something else that is not. So, again, be aware of the decisions you're making, especially be aware of the women you decide to end up sleeping with or being with, you know, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of these girls right now in 2026 come with a lot of trauma. The way to vet out a girl realistically, date her for a couple of months, and then from there, check out if her mother and her father have a good relationship, if they're still together. If she doesn't have a 2-parent household, then you already know those are red flags right there. So, again, be aware of what's going on. Be involved in your children's lives. Don't allow these women to dictate how to raise the kids, because all they're going to do is raise these little boys to be punk-ass men who complain, who whine about everything. They don't know the reality of the real world and what the real world expects of you. And don't allow mothers to raise the girls, because they're going to end up telling them it's okay to sleep around and it's okay to have different boyfriends. That's not how it's supposed to go. It's best for the girl to stay in one relationship, because it teaches her that love is something that's supposed to happen once, but it happens if you make sure you teach your daughter how to be a proper woman, a traditional woman. That's how that'll work. You teach her the right from wrong, you guide her through the right direction, make sure she knows how to cook and clean, and be respectful, be feminine. That's how you do it. Men, you need to struggle to make sure you acquire a future and a legacy. So, let's go.